I don't know of another way of caring, of using a procedure that gets more to the underlying cause of things versus treating symptoms. And like I mentioned, somebody comes in and says, I have Parkinson's or MS, or my knee hurts, or I have headaches, you name it, I look here, you know, and you know, a couple of, I was thinking about coming over here that I wanted to share a story or two, and so I've got a guy, he came in a couple of weeks ago using a walker, and he's about 50 or in his 50s, and he said, "You got 3 weeks." I said, "Okay, no pressure." You know, he's scheduled for something called a balloon rhizotomy, and so he suffers from trigeminal neuralgia. It's known as the suicide disease, and it's earned its name. And so people are in such pain, and it's a facial pain, that they commit suicide. And so he was diagnosed in 1997, and basically they take a needle that's about this long, put it through here to go into the brain to injure the trigeminal nerve. So
to try to relieve the pain.
That's right. Yeah, essentially to injure it, to
so
numb
they won't
it.
feel that
That's right.
anymore.
That's right.
So they're not really fixing anything.
That's
they're
a good
just
point. Yeah, it's a
keeping
Band-Aid
you from suffering.
That's right. That's right. And there are quite a few procedures done just for trigeminal neuralgia. There's one where they'll cut into the skull and decompress blood vessels around nerves, and there's some, people will go to great extremes to get out of pain. So he comes in the first time. Generally, I'll see somebody and follow up with them in about 3 days and see that correction that we've made to restore that alignment. Is it holding? And it usually will or won't based on something somebody will do lifestyle-wise, to aggravate that, but just their normal stuff, how they sleep, how they sit at a computer, how they drive, those things, or just the body's not ready to fully receive that. It's been so long one way that it's not ready to hold that. And then usually I'll see somebody in about a week. So I really enjoy that about it, that it's not a 3 times a week for, I'm not trying to see somebody 70 times in a year, It's a method where, again, if you get to that underlying cause, the commitment is to see it the fewest amount of times, because your body heals better that way. If you can put it where it goes, I don't need to do anything when you come in. The best care you get is when you come in and I say, you know what, that correction we made 2 weeks ago, it's still holding. We leave it alone. Your body's way smarter than me, So anyway, with this gentleman, he came for his first day, very skeptical, closed, no hope, and saw him for the follow-up, and he reported some good things. A week later, I saw him, and that was the day he was supposed to have his prep for his surgery, and he told me he canceled it. So,
a week later.
Yeah.
Glory.
It was almost like he didn't want to. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, but all this facial pain that he was having through here, he said, it's better.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm going to cancel it for, so we'll see. But, and it's the same thing that helps the person with the knee pain or the back pain or whatever. And with knee pain, just as an example, think about if you have a body that looks like this, and just go to the mall and look around. For somebody that does this all day, you go nuts. That's all you do is, But when you see someone that's out of balance like this, it puts a lot of stress in different joints through your body, and the feet, the ankles, the knees, the low back, and those things. And when you remove that misalignment here, and you allow this to line up, because I'll see someone come in and they may have pain in their low back. We may take a film of the low back. We may see curves in the low back we shouldn't see. But I'll also find a misalignment here. 6 months later, we'll take that low back film again, and where we saw those curves, you'll see changes in the structure. It will have improved, and I never touched their back. I just worked from here. And so mentally, that can kind of take a minute to take in, you know, for people to think, wait a minute, you know, I told you I'm hurting here, what in the world are you doing up here? But again, if you get to the source of it, then you can make those kind of changes. I'll tell you one more, and then we'll move on. There's a young girl. I think she's 12. She's a cross-country runner. It was Labor Day weekend, Friday. I was leaving the office. It was about 6:30, and I was dumb enough to answer my phone. And so I'm driving home, and a lady that's in a patient, she says, "Dr. Hall, there's this girl, and you've got to help her." So she tells me a little bit about the story. I said, well, I'll meet you Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So in walks in the husband, shake their hand, the wife, go to shake this young lady's hand. She can't raise her arm. And so on Tuesday of that week, she woke up, and she had all this elbow pain. She had her whole arm was numb, and she had this involuntary tremor, just doing this. And when she came in the office, that's the way she was. So they go to the hospital, take films, make sure there's not a fracture, just any precautionary stuff. They diagnosed her with a possible brain lesion and Parkinsonian tremors. So they said, you need to go to neurology at Vandy. So they go up there, and nothing matched. The way she presented didn't match with the way what they saw and what they expected to see and how they could diagnose her. So they wouldn't test her and told her that they thought that she was too anxious about her cross-country stuff that was coming up. So parents weren't real happy. So she comes in, we go through the same thing, same stuff I told you. I find those indicators to show me there's imbalance in the body. Well, then let's find out how. Let's take that picture, see exactly what that looks like. Deliver that correction. I'll rest folks for a few minutes, and we can recheck them, make sure. It's like I'm hitting a reset button on that nervous system, and you want people to be able to rest and recover a little bit. So that was Saturday morning. Monday was Labor Day, and all weekend I'm thinking about this girl. So Tuesday in the afternoon, she comes in. She comes in, and I'm like, all right, let's hear it. What's going on? So they kind of get a smile, and the mom says, well, about Saturday afternoon, she stopped having the tremor, and then explained how over that day and the next day, that stuff was gone. And on Monday, she ran in a 10K.
Oh, jeez.
So I halfway wanted to hug her, and I halfway wanted to choke her. And then I go into my spiel of, you've got to let this thing heal, and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, she's been there for about 3 months now, and I've had to make a correction, I think, twice. And otherwise, her body has received that correction. And you got to think, you know that your body wants to restore that internal balance. It's always adapting. And if it doesn't, we die, right? So it wants to adapt, and if you'll remove that interference, it will adapt in positive ways, in healthy ways, right? So I'll tell people, the design is perfect, right? We're in a fallen world. There is all this junk that's going to cause interference. We remove that interference, and our bodies can work the way God intended them to.